and got to the airport, and then there was some explosion as well that went off, and I had to get money to pay like an exit fee, I think it was, and I couldn't get my card to work. I did in the end, but I thought, oh, it's not going to work, and I thought I was going to be trapped because I had no other way to get money, really. And then on the way out, I had a Super 8 camera as well that looked like an Uzi, and so I got patted down and everything. As if it was a gun or something, by this guy with a big dog and stuff. That was a new experience for me as well. All this, again, these weapons and seriousness and stuff around there. But anyway, got on my flight and went out to the Galapagos, and as I found out that the boats were full back in Quito when I went to check my booking, and then they put me on first class. I still don't know why they did that. But anyway, I got on the best boat there, and we went around to, I think, 3 or 4 more islands. I spent about 9 or 10 days there, I think it was, and that was absolutely amazing. It was so worth it to do that, swimming with penguins. And one time I dove down, I thought, oh, what's that? That's a strange fish. And it was a marine iguana, and I had a waterproof camera as well, so I shot a photo, just a pretty basic photo. But yeah, all these dreams, after seeing all these David Attenborough documentaries and looking at the photos in National Geographic and stuff, there it was in front of me. So that was really capturing life, and it's so great that I had the ability to even save money as well, because I didn't go out and stuff. I wasn't spending it on alcohol and stuff. So that's what I did with it, and it was the best use of my money. Even to this day, it was the best use of that money that I could have done, basically. And today, if you try and do the same thing, it will probably cost 5 times as much. And while the wages, or ways to get money, unless you're doing something online, where you can get, you can potentially generate quite a large income if you're lucky. But in general, then things cost a lot more. And of course, you have tons of tourists around. There still weren't very many tourists around. I think there was maybe 120,000 a year was the limit for the Galapagos, something like that. But you don't see any other tourists around anyway, because they keep the boats separate. I presume they still do that these days. So we didn't even see anyone else on land or anything. That was amazing though. And then so I went back to Quito, and then down to Santiago again, and went to the cinema there, and Something About Mary was on. I think there was something about Santiago in that movie. I can't remember what it was, but I just remember watching the movie and then walking around Santiago, the streets of Santiago, and then girls were out with water pistols for some reason, like squirting everyone with water pistols and stuff. And yeah, I noticed then that everyone was quite slim, but in 2010 that I went back, and everyone was pretty big, because the economy had got much better. There were ice cream machines everywhere, bread everywhere, supermarkets everywhere and stuff, and probably just a more sedentary lifestyle, and they weren't eating the old traditional food, I suppose, anymore. And so I was in Santiago, and my next stop was going to be Easter Island. And I went out there twice, so this is the second time, because the flights used to go through there just as a stopover. They don't do that now. You have to actually book to go to Easter Island, so that's an even more expensive trip. But I've been there twice as well. So I went there, and then I think I'd booked one hotel, and that was full again, strangely enough. And they put me in a really good hotel with all the stewards from the Lanchile. And so I was there, and then I got a bike as well, full suspension bike, and I rode around the island exploring a bit, and I went up to all the sites, and there was nothing there then. There were no barriers or anything like that, so I just walked around freely. And there was no one else around either. I just saw 1 or 2 other people. And another time I got a van as well, went with a Japanese girl and the guide there, and we went around to all the other sites. But yeah, no one around again, and just really peaceful. And I remember having the best fish of my life there, just what they call a bento box in Japan, just a lunchbox thing with fish, and it was beautiful. And I always thought fish had a fishy smell, but this was just, how could it get any fresher? caught off the coast of Easter Island. And so after that, went back through Auckland, and then back to Australia. And there I was again, and working and studying in Melbourne. Some of the footnotes from that trip in La Paz, or going out of La Paz, the highway, or the Death Highway, that 60-kilometre stretch of road that goes down to the Yungas from, let's say, 3,800 metres to 1,500 metres, I think, in 60 kilometres. I think they've made another road, or they made it safer or something now. But then, it was pretty deadly. There were trucks that had fallen off the side all over the place. And I saw that all through Bolivia as well. We'd be going along and rocks would be falling off into the abyss, 1,000-metre drops and stuff. And at first, you're a bit apprehensive. But then when it's the whole time, you just get used to it and you don't worry about it. And so all that stuff is such good training. And even on the flight over to South America, I don't know how long the flight was, let's say 16 hours or something like that. I even, put it into my mind that, I can't get off this even if I really want to. And I started to give myself a bit of a panic attack, and then I just relaxed again. And so that's what has been happening all the time as you go out into the world more, or whatever. It just depends on your personality, just going towards fear. Not something that's going to kill you, but every time I go, I think, I'm going to die, because it's that kind of risk that I'm taking on. But I find that when I go out there, then a new world opens up every time, and I come back fine so far. And something that's real is that it can never be taken away from me. I've already lived it. It can't be taken away from me. And that's why I say to invest in experiences, because you can't buy the past. And so I did that. I bought the past because it was my future. It was at the present time then. So I just saved this money and then bought a little chunk of life, basically. It was the simplest way. We can't predict if things are going to get popular, or if we're going to be really successful or something at things. We can't predict a lot of things, but with something like that, then yes, you can save this thing, this tool, which is money, and then you can just pay this money, and then you can go to these places, and you can just walk, and you have these experiences just by paying. But you still have to walk. I like to do that. I don't want to just pay to go to the end of something. I want to pay to get to the start of something, and then make the journey to experience as much as possible. So not to go too quickly either, and to go deep inside, and also to spend enough time in places too. So that, and it depends on the place too. Some places you don't need so much time because they're physically small or whatever. But other places, you need a certain amount of time because things change depending on the seasons and whatnot, and you have to walk a certain amount as well. And even with the Inca Trail, then I think that was maybe a 4 or 5 day walk or something like that. And of course you can walk from Cusco as well. So there are points where, cut-off points. I could have walked from Patagonia if I really wanted to. Spent 6 months walking up there or something like that. But there's a chunk of experience that usually, even out in the wilderness, even if you spend a night out in the wilderness, I think it's enough. But let's say 3 nights, there's a difference again of 3 nights. And then when you get a bit longer, then it becomes like survival. And then you really start to connect in with that world, especially if you're living off the land or something like that as well. Just depends on the environment. And so on that trip as well, I was out in Nazca, the Nazca lines out there, and that was, I remember that being $50 the flight US, and there was no one around either. We just flew around there, and then to the Mochi, the Nazca people as well. We saw their mummified remains and dreadlocks, whatnot, and more ruins out there as well. And these scientists or connected people had appeared in National Geographic as well. All that was directly connected. I saw the Ice Maiden as well. I think it was in Salta, and she had been recovered not so long ago. She was a a sacrificial victim who was placed at the top of a mountain in Peru, and a young girl, say a 14-year-old girl, and perfectly preserved. So I saw her, and that was mind-blowing as well to see that, to see all that kind of stuff, because it's such a separation when you don't have any. Now we pick up a phone and we can do research and whatnot, or we're still communicating with everyone who we normally communicate with through social media, or just the simple fact that we've got the internet. But I didn't have that then, zero communication, so I was in a totally other world, and so was everyone else around there. It wasn't just me. It's not like you can do that today by just not taking a device with you or whatever, but everyone else you'll still be communicating with everyone else, and so you still get that energy coming in and the information coming in, and just around as well. It's everywhere around. But then, yeah, there was nothing coming in, and I even made my Hotmail account in Lima, in a little cafe there in Lima, Peru. That's where I made it, after we'd talked to some dodgy, probably cocaine dealers or something like that, I don't know, on the street. They were trying to get us to go somewhere, I think. But yeah, that was just another surreal world as well down there for me. And there was, yeah, some danger, I suppose, of pickpockets and whatnot as well. In Cusco, yeah, cocaine flying around and all the rest of it, and yeah, dodgy streets and stuff. And there wasn't any of the fusion food, or not that I knew of. It was just like chicken heads and stuff in a bowl of soup, or chicken feet in a bowl of soup. And then Potosi as well, where they've got the mine there. We went down into that, and someone set off a stick of dynamite when we were down there, so we had to come running out behind in front of a big cloud of silicosis forming powder, I suppose, smoke. Yeah, smoke and dust and all the rest of it, because those people who work in the mines, they get silicosis, which is a hardening of the lungs, because they're breathing in all the dust, and that used to kill them. I don't know about these days, but there was a cafe there as well in Potosi, in the town there, a big one, or a restaurant, and apparently that person, that miner, had struck a seam of silver, and so didn't have to work in the mine anymore, got out of there. But yeah, that was amazing, and I was chewing on coca leaves, and we bought some dynamite and stuff there. I think, yeah, there's lots of other little experiences. Staying out in the Amazon for the first time as well. That was amazing to do that. To see caiman at night, the eyes of 100 caiman lighting up, and trying to take photos of that as well. And then just hearing the sounds in the morning of the jungle.